of Rome. It was a territory of Rome at the time, and so the Roman emperor allowed him to go by the title of the king. Now the description, Herod the Great, it's commonly attached to his name, but again, he's not called that in Scripture. The meaning of the great, when attached to Herod's name, it could vary depending on who it is that is using it. It could be used to applaud his many military victories, or it could be used to acknowledge his architectural accomplishments, because he had several, including the rebuilding of a temple there at Jerusalem. But it could also be used to describe his level of wicked and monstrous rule. Many historians, both Jews and Christians, speak very critically of his brutal and his murderous ways. And Herod, he just had his way of getting whatever it was that he wanted. It makes it a bit easier for me to refer to him as Herod the Great, because it helps me to distinguish him from those others of his bloodline that also went by the name Herod, such as Herod Agrippa, Herod Antipas, and so forth. Upon Herod's death, Rome divided his kingdom into three different parts, where it was divided among his three sons and his sister. But many of his family, they continued to terrorize Christianity. And among their terroristic acts included the deaths of John the Baptist, of James, and of Peter. In Luke chapter 13 and verse 31, it says, "The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him," speaking unto Jesus, "Get thee out and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee." Even at that time, Herod, now this was probably Herod Antipas, the son of Herod the Great, that they said that Herod wants to kill you. So you see, the bloodline of Herod, it continued on in this manner. Herod the Great, according to history, had 10 different wives and numerous children. And despite his many military victories and his being on the throne there in Judah, placed there by the Roman emperor, he was still obviously a very insecure person. He felt a need to eliminate anyone that might be a potential threat to his position as the king there. And among those that he would consider a threat and would put to death was some of his wives he put to death. Many of his sons he had put to death. One of his wives, her parents had put to death. One of the wives, her grandfather, who at one time earlier had saved Herod the Great's life. He had the grandfather at the age of 80 put to death. 5 days, according to history, 5 days before Herod the Great's death, he had his eldest son, his firstborn son, had him executed. This was the kind of man that Herod the Great was. To us that when the wise men did not return to tell Herod where that it was that they found Jesus, it does not surprise us that Herod the Great, he began to devise another plot. He wanted to eliminate this one that the wise men had declared unto him to be the king of the Jews. And so what he did was he ordered in Matthew 2 and verse 16, he ordered that all the children there in that region that was under the age of 2 would be put to death. His intent was surely because he had asked the wise men, when was it that you saw this star? So the deductive reasoning was that that surely he would be able to eliminate this Jesus, the one called the King of the Jews. Historians say that in that widespread effort to kill Jesus, that he even had one of his sons that was in that age group killed. Historians say that Herod the Great died a very painful death one that was so painful that he even tried to commit suicide to get himself out of the misery, but someone stopped him from doing so. Herod knew that he was hated by many of the Jews, and therefore he feared that his death would not be sufficiently mourned. And so what he did was, when he knew that his death was imminent, he called for all of the chief men of the nation to come there unto him. And he made the penalty of death for anyone that would defy that order. When the chief men got there, he had them locked up. He had them secured in a place. And he gave an order to his sister and his brother-in-law that upon his death, they would have all of them put to death as well. The idea was that there would be great mourning in the land.